Connected to iPhone.
Rejoice, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Dunning. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on. One of the cool things about the internet is that you can get connected to all these weird and unusual folks. And you can also exchange a lot of information back and forth and find out a lot of things about each other. And I read about you.
Coming.
No, nothing's coming. I read about you, and I read some of the things, and I didn't know when you had contacted me that you had included me in your, how many celebrities were there, 8 or 10?
It was the top 10 most wanted celebrities promoting harmful pseudoscience.
And in that, I read about myself, and I was shocked to learn that I believe that 911 was created by the government. I did not know. I didn't know that I believed that.
I don't think you've ever said that.
I've never said that. The only thing I've ever said that's controversial at all is that Tower 7, when you watch it fall, it looks like a controlled demolition. And I don't think that's controversial because it looks like a controlled demolition.
Yeah, when you look at just the top half of it, it does.
Well, you look at the whole thing, the way the structure collapses.
There's no video of the whole thing. You can only see the video of the top, really the top quarter of it as it disappears behind the building.
It's not really, I wouldn't say it's the top quarter. It's a 48-floor building, correct?
I don't know. I'm not going to argue the fraction, but you don't see the bottom of it.
Well, that's true, but it is very unusual how it falls into its base instead of falls over.
It didn't. It fell. It started to fall down straight, but then it almost destroyed 2 other buildings that it fell against.
Watch it again. Here, look at that. Yeah, that's way more than the top quarter.
Okay, it's not. It's not. You don't see the bottom.
That's almost the entire building.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, let's see it again. Let's see it again because we caught that in the middle. Let's see it again.
I mean, it disappears into the smoke before you can see much.
Right, but I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that that thing doesn't fall into its base. Look at that.
It doesn't. I mean, look, it's already going at an angle. Look at that. Look at that.
Okay, but it all fell to the bottom. I mean, let's look at that one again.
It's not going to fall to the top.
Okay, but you're being kind of silly. That thing collapsed into its base. This had never happened before, and it looks like a controlled demolition. I'm not saying it, but let me be clarified, because this is important. I'm not saying it's a controlled demolition.
I know.
I have no idea.
All right, so this is Joe Rogan arguing with somebody about the collapse of Building 7 on September the 11th, 2001. I, as many people may know, am a major 9/11 conspiracist. Because it's not a theory. It was a legit conspiracy. So, do you guys think that the shadow government orchestrated 9/11? Or was it really some legit extremist Muslims that carried out 9/11? Like, which one? Was it 19 Muslim hijackers? Or was it some kind of fucking false flag attack from the shadow government?
Yeah, but that's what it looks like. To say it doesn't look like that is kind of silly.
No, if someone who just listens to our last 5 minutes here of the exchange, it sounded like you were trying to convince me that 9/11 was a hoax.
Like who? To who would say that?
I think anyone who listens to that 5 minutes, it would sound like you were trying to convince me Building 7 was a demolition.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay.
It's not. It was very specific that I don't think it's a gray area. I don't think it's a black and white issue. I think it's a very gray area.
If you had to bet yes or no, was 9/11 orchestrated by the government, if you had to bet, would you bet
I would
yes
bet
or
on no. I would
bet on no.
100% bet on no.
You'd 100% bet on no.
Yes, I would 100% bet on no.
So if you're 100% betting no, then
Well, I
on
would
the
never.
question
It's a
of
bet. I mean,
Yeah.
I might bet no, but it doesn't mean anything.
I'm asking for your personal level of confidence, your opinion, and your
See,
personal
if you're
confidence.
forcing me to bet, then I would bet no.
Okay, so
but
if
I
I
would
bet-
never say I know one way or the other.
So if I asked you, what is your bet on whether Building 7 was a controlled demolition, are you still 100% no?
I certainly wouldn't bet. I certainly wouldn't bet because I don't know enough.
So if it then makes sense for you to promote the idea that 9/11 was probably not a government conspiracy, then why would you spend 5 minutes showing me this video and bringing it to the attention of everyone on your show, saying, hey, look at this, look how it was probably a controlled demolition. Or
That's
look how
not what I
look,
said.
I'm sorry, look how much it looked like a controlled demolition.
Because it does, because it's interesting.
Yeah, but unless you're framing that within the context of, look how easy it is to be mistaken, which is not what you said.
But why do I have to do that, to just observe something that's fascinating?
You don't have to do it, but what Neil Tyson was trying to sell you on was the value of doing it. Giving people the tools to understand the way the world probably actually works.
Okay, how does that relate to you listening to me go on about how it looks like a controlled demolition? You agree that it looks like a controlled demolition, and just because I'm
Sure.
expressing that, you're saying that if someone listened to that, they would think rather that I'm trying to convince you that 9/11 was a hoax. I think that's a giant stretch. An enormous stretch.
I think that's what it sounded like.
Didn't sound like that to me.
Okay, well, let me go back again to how this is a good segue to what I wrote back in 2008.
Okay, please.
Okay, so I think you were number 8 on my list of top 10 celebrities who promote harmful pseudoscience. And here's the paragraph that I wrote on you. Number 8, Joe Rogan. Comedian Joe Rogan does what he can to promote virtually any conspiracy theory that he stumbles onto, apparently accepting them all uncritically with a wholesale embrace. Now, I know you would disagree with that now.
Of course I would.
and I want to give you that chance. So let me continue. The worst part is that he promotes these ideas to the public at every interview opportunity, but gives himself the intellectual get-out-of-jail-free card of not needing any evidence by hiding behind the childish debate technique of saying, hey, I'm just the guy asking questions. God, this makes me sound like an asshole.
Well, it's just factually inaccurate on so many different levels. I don't understand why you wrote it like that.
Because many of us, myself included, think that it does more harm than good, because you're suggesting to anyone who might be on the fence, you're suggesting to them that there is a debatable question here, something that's crazy and has
Right.
no possible evidence
Right.
for it. We don't hold scientific debates about that. When you agree to have a debate, you're going to convince anyone who's on the fence, oh, maybe there is a question here that needs to be looked at. And in fact, I think it's arguable that you do more harm than good. And so by the same token, I say that it's really possible when you say, hey, I'm just the guy asking questions about Building 7, or whatever the subject is, that you're potentially doing more harm than good by suggesting that there is a questionable subject here. Roswell, let's take for example. Hey, I'm just the guy asking questions. Isn't it strange that there were 3 small bodies that needed coffins?
Well, let's just stop with the one example. You think that potentially addressing a reality in the way something looks, that could be dangerous.
When it's on a matter of basically settled science, I think you're doing more harm than good by suggesting, hey, shouldn't we question whether 2 + 2 = 4?
But to deny that these things exist, I think, is silly. Because then you fuel the conspiracy theories even more, because you're denying something that seems obvious to the eye. The average person that looks at that building says, yes, that does look like a controlled demolition. Does that mean it is? No, it doesn't. But to pretend that it doesn't look like that is ridiculous.
Okay,
To
but
pretend that it's not that it falls at free fall speed is...
I'm not sure anyone is denying that it looks like the part of it you can see in the video. It does. It looks exactly
So
very
you
much
agree
like
with
a
me.
controlled
So you
demolition.
criticize me for what you agree with.
No,
you
no, no.
agree that it looks like a controlled demolition. Discussing it.
No, that's not what I'm criticizing you for. I agree that it looks like a controlled demolition. That's not the question. The question is
Whether it should be brought up?
No, well, I mean, we're sticking on this one example of Building 7, and I don't
Well, it's
think
because
it's
we
the best
haven't
example.
resolved it yet. It's a good example because it's an example that you use as an example of you thinking that if you listen to me just describe what I see with my eyes, that it sounds to me like I'm supporting some sort of a conspiracy theory when I'm 100% not.
Okay. Would you,
It seems like you have topics that are off limits. and that like discuss something like that, even to look at the reality of the speed that it fell, just to even bring it up, is off limits.
Okay, let me ask you something else. I want to kind of call you out a little bit on something else.
Just call you out of some new shit that people are doing in the last 10 years. Notice that? You know, nobody ever like.
But did any conspiracy theorists believe that they were calling out? So, okay, you had a guy on your show a couple of weeks ago, Dr. something or other. Mark Gordon.
Yes.
Okay. I listened to that episode. I turned it off in a rage at 9 minutes because I couldn't take any more.
Oh, yeah.
He came on and he starts promoting his miracle supplement that you take and you can drink as much alcohol as you want and not get drunk.
Well, he's talking about glutathione. He wasn't saying.
He was selling a product that you can take
No, he
and
doesn't
you
sell
can.
it. No, he doesn't sell it. He doesn't sell glutathione.
I
He might.
beg to differ. That was the central thrust of the first 9 minutes of the episode I listened. But
Really?
what I want
I might
to
be
discuss with
incorrect.
you,
I might be incorrect.
What I want to discuss with you is something you said to him. You said that sounds too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew enough to call you out on your bullshit.
Right.
You should have known enough to call him out on your bullshit.
I didn't know he was going to bring that up.
If you're going to, well, I mean, okay.
That wasn't like the topic of conversation.
When you say that there's a supplement that can prevent you from getting drunk, you're, I'm sorry, you're against all reasonably established science, and you're trying to make a buck off of people potentially getting killed. And I had a huge problem with that to the point that I had to turn the show off.
Mm-hmm.
I was just getting mad driving in my car. And
okay, keep going. Sorry.
I think that as someone with a huge audience, as you have, I think you have more of a responsibility to make sure that people like that are called out on it.
I don't have any obligation other than to talk to people. My obligation is to ask questions if I'm curious, but in broadcasting these things, I make the very clear distinction that I'm not an expert. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm talking about things like health and medicine, but I'm fascinated. So if I'm talking to someone and they're an expert and they bring up something that I didn't prepare for, I'm going to ask them questions about it, and I will say, I wish I knew if you're full of shit. I could turn this around on you and say it would be so easy for you to research all those different things on that list that you accuse me of, many of them which are not true at all and never have been true, but yet you printed them.
I did.
So why did you do that if you're a man of science? What
Because-
information would you possibly have had?
Because I was using the internet in 2008, and I look every probably 3-4 months or so, I do an episode that is nothing but corrections.
Mm-hmm.
It's corrections of things I've been wrong about in the past.
Listen, man, he's not the only one who's talking about this. This is being discussed in many different forums. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but I don't think you do either. I don't know that you should be saying that if you're not a doctor. What if it turns out that is true?
I'm not a doctor, but I'm a science writer, and I do
Did you Google it?
do follow this stuff. I've written on Google. I did an episode probably 3-4 months ago on hangover.
I've written on Google.
What exactly is the cause of a hangover? Yeah, it's a depletion of glutathione, and your body can't keep up with it.
Oh, snap. Sounds like Dr. Gordon's right.
No, it's not as simple as that. That's the thing, is it's easy to sell products by giving an oversimplified description of it.
I'm telling you, though, you're pinning it on this guy. He doesn't have a store. Like, you're saying he's selling products. He's not selling anything.
Okay. He was certainly talking about a product that's available there.
Yeah, because
it's
he
not
takes
his.
it. He doesn't have a store.
I don't remember that. Look, this was the 9 minutes of his episode. He was talking about what he sells. If I'm wrong about that, then I'm damn wrong about it, and I'm surprised.
Yeah, but even this one thing you just said, he wasn't selling it. But you got that wrong, but you're saying that he was selling
That wasn't on my
product.
show. I was listening to this show.
Yeah,
But you
it's
still got
not
it
true.
wrong, and you're saying
He
it's
doesn't-
true. And so now you're sending it out to the world that this guy sells a product that he doesn't. You're doing the exact same thing. that you're blaming Joe for.
No, I'm not.
You are, though. You're saying this guy sells something when he doesn't.
Yeah, you're saying he's pitching his product.
That's hardly the salient point. The salient point is that information is being given that could potentially kill people.
Right, but you're
That's
saying that he's
slightly more
giving this
important.
information as a medical expert, which he is, under the guise of selling a product, which is erroneous.
Okay, but I've also said that I don't know whether it's his store or someone else's store, but it's a product that he's talking about.
Uh-huh.
That's the salient point. Whether it's his store or someone else's store doesn't really make a difference compared to the fact that it's potentially deadly advice.
But you're saying that he doesn't believe in it, or that if he believes in it, he's wrong. And what he's saying is that he uses it. He doesn't sell it. And you're saying that he's saying that because he sells it. That was very specific. You had taken this very cynical approach to why he's disseminating this information.
Fair enough.
No, he's not saying drink all you want and you're going to be fine. I mean, he never said that. He never said there's no risk involved. What he was saying is it can help you get sober quicker. I don't know if he's right, but I don't think you do either.
That's not what I heard.
That's
What
not
did
what I
you
heard.
hear?
I heard him say you can drink and not get drunk.
We could listen to it. We have the internets.
Okay, see if you can
We
pull
have
it up.
the
See if you can
internets.
pull, if there's a very small sample that we could find.
For instance, a gentleman who went out drinking 3 highballs and 5 shots of tequila went home and subsequently was very dizzy, nauseous. He forgot that I gave him a sample of this glutathione, and he used 4 puffs under the tongue, held it for 30 seconds, and then 30 minutes later, clear as a bell, woke up the next day, went out partying again, couldn't get drunk.
What? That sounds like nonsense.
It isn't nonsense.
I wish I was smart enough to call you on your bullshit.
Talk to my office. Aaron will tell you everything.
That sounds crazy.
Maybe that guy was
Cut it
lying.
off right there.
Maybe
Because that was
wasn't
actually at
drunk.
the beginning of the podcast, I remember.
That was about where I got mad. And
That
turned
was
it off.
right in. I don't buy he says he couldn't get drunk the next day. That's very anecdotal, though. And what he was saying was just hard science.
What a good doctor is not going to go and tell people anecdotes like you can take this product and not get drunk.
I agree. And maybe he was nervous being on a podcast. He probably shouldn't have said it knowing
Maybe
that
he
a
was
million
nervous.
people plus are going to listen to it. However, what he said was all hard science.
What he said was, here's
About
the
liposomal-
here's the things he said that led me to believe that it was his product. At least I remember.
But obviously, here you watch again, it wasn't his product. He wasn't selling
He
it.
said I gave him the supplement, and
Yeah,
he
he
said
gives
here's the
people-
delivery thing that we're working on. So
He gives-
maybe I misinterpreted that.
Let me tell you something about this guy. He's a very generous guy, and he gives people vitamins all the time.
I don't know about his particular delivery method that he's talking about, but when he says
It's not his. I mean, I guarantee you.
I
he's
don't
not
know
making
about
this stuff.
the particular delivery method he's talking about, but when he says you can take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and your body's going to absorb 93% of it, that's, in my experience, medically nonsensical. Your body doesn't need that much.
Well,
Your body doesn't use that much.
93% of what, though? Whatever
The
you're doing
vitamin
with
C you took in your
but-
1,000
no,
milligrams.
but what? If it's a small amount? If he's saying that your body absorbs 93% of vitamin C, he's not saying that you need 1,000 milligrams and your body absorbs 93%. But he's saying that if you deliver it in a liposomal form, you get a 93% bioavailability. He's not giving a specific number that you should take.
But your body doesn't have any use for 93% of 1,000 milligrams of
But he
vitamin
didn't
C.
he didn't say that. He didn't say you need 1,000 milligrams and then 93% of it is absorbed. What he said is if you take it liposomally, it's a higher rate of bioavailability and it's up to 93%. He didn't say you have to take 1,000 milligrams.
Do you think he was implying that it's
No,
better
he
to
didn't
have...
give a dosage. He was trying to say that it's better to have liposomal vitamin C because it's more bioavailable. That's all hard science.
Well, how is it better? If it's going to give you more than you can use, how is it better?
No, you're adding that. He didn't say that you have to have 1,000 milligrams. He didn't give you a dosage.
He wasn't suggesting or implying that
You're
that's
trying to
better.
find him to be
or that's
wrong,
desirable.
man. This is not. This
Look,
is not cool.
Look, I'm just saying it looks and quacks like
It's
it does.
disingenuous. What you're saying is disingenuous because that's not what he's saying. What he's saying there was that the bioavailability of liposomal nutrients is better. So what he's saying is true. What he's saying is fact, and you're shitting on him.
I'm shitting on anyone who is selling snake oil, basically,
come on, man.
or
You-
pitching
oh,
snake oil to be bought, or suggesting that buying supplements and things that you don't need is a good way to spend your money.
But wait a minute. If someone likes to drink, isn't it a smart thing to
And
take
see, this is why I
glutathione
like
after you drink
Rogan.
to shorten your hangover?
Because Joe Rogan will put people on his show that he doesn't agree with. You know what I'm saying? These guys have not agreed on anything yet. But Joe Rogan is still like, yeah, you can come on the show.
Isn't it effective?
I would have to look at the research before I would tell you that.
You said it. You said it before. You said that it aids in reducing hangover.
Okay, yes, it
So why wouldn't you take that? You're saying that he's selling
It's
something
just-
that you don't need.
it's
And why
just-
wouldn't you
it's
need
not-
it?
You hear
Aids
that
in
nervous
reducing
laugh?
hangover.
Listen to this
The
nervous
smart thing
laugh
to take
after he
glutathione
started.
after you drink to shorten your hangover? Isn't it effective?
I would have to look at the research before I would tell you that.
You said it. You said it before. You said that it aids in reducing hangover.
Okay, yes, it
So why wouldn't you take that? You're saying that he's selling
It's
something
just-
that you don't need.
it's
And why
just-
would
Oh my god. And that's what Rogan, that's why Joe Rogan says shit like that. Like, I wish I was smart enough to call you on your bullshit. Because motherfucker, you saying something I don't really know about, so I'm not gonna really say that you're not right. But this dude right here swears down he's so fucking right And Rogan keeps fucking tying his ass up, yo. And now he's stuttering and nervous laughing. And that's why I say I don't agree with Rogan all the time. That's why I like his ass. He's smart and he has a strong fucking opinion, yo.
Aids in reducing hangover.
Okay, yes.
So why wouldn't you take that? You're saying that he's selling something that you don't need. And why wouldn't you need
It's not
it?
as simple as that.
Wait a minute.
None of these issues are as simple as
No one's saying it is, but you're saying that you take glutathione when you're hungover and it reduces the length of your hangover. He's saying take glutathione. You're saying to take glutathione is unnecessary. You're saying that you don't need it. Saying that you don't need glutathione is pretty ridiculous.
If you can get glutathione into your liver, your hangover will be reduced.
So why don't you
Whether
need it?
this method of taking a supplement will get glutathione into your liver is something that I don't know, and I would have to look at the research before I would tell you that.
But you're already
I will
accusing
tell
him
you,
of being wrong.
I'm accusing him of being wrong that you can take a product and not get drunk after trying to get drunk and not able to get drunk. I'm saying that that's wrong, and it borders on being really, really unethically wrong.
We agree on that, but you've set up all sorts of straw man arguments for why he did it and what he's doing and what he's saying and the bioavailability to vitamin C. Those all fall apart under scrutiny.
So let's have him come on and correct it then.
He's
Let's
not
have
going
him
to come on and debate you. He doesn't know you.
No, I
He
wouldn't
doesn't-
get
he's not
me.
gonna want to.
I'd get someone who knows the business.
Like he's a silly guy, but what he's saying that you corrected, you're wrong about bioavailability. You attributed him to this erroneous number of 1,000 milligrams. He didn't say that.
He did.
You want to play it again? Let's play it again. Let's play again. The liposomal.
We don't need to play. He said
injection.
if you take 1,000 milligram vitamin C and you take it liposomally, you'll absorb 93%.
It's not what he said.
Okay.
What he said was, if you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, your body only absorbs 19%. And he said, if you take vitamin C liposomally, your body absorbs a giant amount of it.
He said 93%.
19% and 93%. That's what he said. He didn't say you
We're
take
both saying the
1,000
same
milligrams. No, you're saying you don't need that much vitamin C. That's why he's wrong. But high levels of vitamin C, that's debatable as well. Because there's a lot of research, hard data, that shows that high levels of vitamin C is probably pretty good for you.
In my research, all of that has turned out to be nonsense.
Your research on vitamin C is extensive?
Yes.
What's your research on vitamin C?
God, I can look up my episode for you. I'll agree with
But
that.
it's not. It would never make me angry enough to shut it off and yell at him. And your descriptions of even what he said in the event is off. You shouldn't have insisted that he had said 1,000 milligrams and that his 93% bioavailability. And then you're trying to find some way that he's wrong. So you're going, well, why do you need that much? And he didn't say that. Well, he's trying to sell us stuff. He's not selling shit. He doesn't have a store. He's not selling a goddamn thing.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree on whether he said that.
Oh, we played it. We played it, man.
We played it back, and I heard
We'll play it
differently
again.
than you did.
Okay, let's hear it again.
Play his 1,000 milligrams.
If you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C by mouth, you only absorb 19%. The rest of it's destroyed by the acid that's in the stomach. But if you wrap it in this protection called the liposome, you'll be able to absorb 93%. So taking something like glutathione, which normally...
Exactly. He didn't say you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. He said if you do, you absorb 93%. If you take, he's just giving numbers. He's saying if you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, he's not recommending that as a dose. He's saying if you do, your body absorbs 19%. That's true. He's saying if you wrap it in a liposomal structure, your body absorbs 93%.
I got to
He's
say,
right.
I'm kind of stunned on what you're saying I got wrong. He said at 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and you'll absorb 93% of it if you take his...
What you said he was wrong in was he's telling you to take 1,000 milligrams. He wasn't telling you to take anything. You're trying to find a way to be right here. And
I'm
it's
not.
kinda weird.
I think I'm repeating exactly what you just said. I'm just kind of stunned that you're pointing out what I said was wrong. I said... I mean, this is kind of we're deteriorating in
It's not
entertainment
really, though.
quality here.
No. What
I
it
said-
is explaining where you err in the way you cast judgment, and that you're incorrect about what he was saying. But your main point where he's wrong is why do you need that much vitamin C in the first place? What's the big deal with this liposomal thing? You were trying to diminish him. You're trying to find ways to diminish his point. But he's correct.
You do not need to take 1,000 milligrams
He
of
didn't say
vitamin
that.
C.
He didn't say you do. This is a straw man.
This is
Total
not a straw
man.
man. This
Total
is
straw man.
This is summarizing my point. My
Okay.
point,
Right.
not his point. My point.
We're beating a dead horse. You're wrong here.
I'm flabbergasted that you're saying I'm wrong, but let's just move on. I mean, this is just going around in circles.
Well, it is, but
kind of silly.
it's highlighting the way you think. And
The way-
one of the things about the way you think is this desire to be right.
Yeah,
and
you think
have
like a
very
dickhead.
strong desire to, when you're criticizing him, to be right. And I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong about a couple of things. All that other stuff leading up to the statement to sort of flavor the statement and make it even worse and grander turned out to not be true.
Anytime you're suggesting, selling, promoting miraculously easy solutions to complicated problems, that should raise a huge red flag. And all of the language he was using suggested a miraculously easy solution. Words like, the words he was using,
I think he actually, in his defense, he used a lot of those words just to describe its effects as an antioxidant, which are pretty much universally accepted online.
no.
Effects as an antioxidant? It's a strong antioxidant.
The current state of antioxidant research is that supplementation has no benefit.
Where is that? Is that published somewhere?
If you Google that sentence, I'm sure you'll find it. Any normal diet, the reason you poop and pee is because you ate more than you needed. Supplementation is trying to pour water on a bucket that's already overflowing.
Wait a minute. The reason you poop and pee is not because you ate more or drank more than you needed. You're going to poop and pee if you just drink the exact right amount, too. You can poop and pee all the way to starvation.
No, you can't. You'll stop pooping if you
Listen,
stop eating.
If you keep drinking water, like when the water passes through your body, it's not because you drank too much water. If you drink a glass of water, okay, and that water goes through, is exactly what your body needed. In a few hours, you're going to need it as a waste eliminator.
Your kidneys are going to continue producing urine until you're dehydrated. Until you're dehydrated.
Right,
yes.
but there's not a balancing act where you can hit a certain sweet spot where you eat exactly what you need or drink exactly what you need.
Look, I'm not talking about finding a sweet spot. What I'm
What you're
saying
saying
is
is
you
that
don't
with
need.
pooping and peeing is because you ate too much or drank too much. That's not true.
You're taking my words too literally.
Well, that's a very literal statement.
This is a weird conversation. This is.
I mean, come on, that's a ridiculous
this is
medical
kinda
statement.
weird,
a doctor
yeah.
would listen to that.
That's
I'm just
not
calling
a-
you out.
that's
and
not a
saying you
medical
call people
statement.
out. What are you saying then? What is it? Is it
Okay,
magic?
what I'm saying is supplementation of any of these things.
Okay. And now we digress to a poop conversation. Wow.
The modern cities of the world are pretty great, if we're honest with ourselves. We've got subways, hot dog stands, the Sexiteria, you name it. But some cities of the ancient world would have been pretty nifty too. At least they were, until they were destroyed by invading armies, floods, and God knows what. From a settlement where the people lived in honeycombs to a city full of secrets destroyed by a conqueror. This is our list of 7 mysteriously lost great cities. In at number 7, Machu Picchu. The mountain city of Machu Picchu in Peru was built by the Incas sometime around the 15th century, with their incredible architectural exploits still evident from the ruins which remain on a mountain ridge thousands of meters above sea level. Machu Picchu is home to several intriguing mysteries, including the fact that it had no marketplace at all. Marketplaces were a common theme among Incan settlements, so we're still not quite sure where they bought and sold things. Maybe it was all online. Who knows? We sure don't. Because we still haven't deciphered their old tapestry records, which might give us a clue. But Machu Picchu makes this list because only a century after it was built, this glorious mountain city was completely abandoned. Many thought this was due to the Spanish conquests which took place around the same time, but the Spanish had no idea of its existence, and neither did the rest of the world, until an American historian rediscovered it in 1911. So why did the Incas leave? Scared of heights all of a sudden? At 6, Cahokia. When we think of the life Native Americans must have led before the Europeans arrived, and indeed after we started slaughtering them all, we imagine large bands of teepee-dwelling honorable people and named their kids after whatever crap they happened to be looking at when they were born. Mind you, if that were true, my name would be Mr. Alcoholic with a camcorder. But anyway, while many Native American tribes did live in separated groups, there were actually 10 million indigenous people living in North America before Europeans came to spoil the party. And 40,000 of them lived in a Native American megacity called Cahokia. Cahokia was founded around 600 AD on the side of the Mississippi opposite from St. Louis. And for hundreds of years, it was North America's largest city and one of the biggest in the world. Its inhabitants constructed markets, meeting places, strange mounds which you can still see today. And there is also evidence of some extremely sophisticated agricultural practices having taken place here. But why did the city suddenly disappear around 1400 AD? The answer? No one knows. In an eerie coincidence, perhaps, this was when the Maya left their civilization. So what happened? Did the Europeans get there earlier than we thought? Or was there an as yet unknown plague or natural disaster which wiped out cities across the Americas? 5. Heraclion. This spectacular statue was found alongside thousands of other artifacts in Egypt's Abu Qir Bay in the year 2000. And when archaeologists analyzed this site, located 2 kilometers off the coast under 10 meters of water, they identified it as the long-lost remains of the Egyptian city of Heraclion. Heraclion had been mentioned in historical records, but no trace of it had ever been found. And the same was said of a nearby city called Thonis, with some historians claiming they may have been different names for the same city. And they were right. It was. Heraclion/Thonis was a prosperous city which may have been founded as early as the 12th century BC. And for a time it was Egypt's main port, until it mysteriously disappeared sometime between the 3rd and 2nd centuries BC. We're yet to confirm exactly why such a large and important city simply blinked out of existence. But due to its decidedly soggy present location, we think it may have sunk into the ground when the water-saturated soil it was built on turned to liquid after an earthquake. This is a threat which many coastal cities still face today, and if I was in one of those places when it happened, I'm pretty sure something else would turn to liquid pretty quickly too. At number 4, Mohenjo-Daro. The Indus Valley people were the most woke folks of the Bronze Age period, as their society, which existed between 3300 and 1300 BC, were seemingly quite big on equality. After analyzing the ruins of many of their cities, we've discovered that they all lived in the same style of house, regardless of wealth. And they also contained no religious buildings or iconography. And as we can see from the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro in modern-day Pakistan, they also knew their onions when it came to town planning. 40,000 people reportedly lived in this beautifully designed city, which was one of the world's earliest organized settlements. But since we've yet to decipher the Indus Valley language, we don't know a great deal about how and why it was abandoned. What we do know is that Mohenjo-Daro's name might mean the Mound of the Dead Men, according to a translation using the Sindhi language. But realistically, it should have been known as the Mound of the Dead Birds, as this may have been where the first widespread domestication of chickens took place. So we know we have Mohenjo-Daro to thank for KFC, and another thing we know is that it was destroyed and rebuilt 7 times. Probably by flooding, possibly by war, and each time it was rebuilt on the same site. But clearly, 8 times was too many, and Mohenjo-Daro was deserted for good around 1900 BC, as for reasons unknown, the Indus Valley civilization entered its period of gradual, permanent decline. 3. Çatalhöyük. Another of the world's earliest mass settlements was the Mesopotamian city of Çatalhöyük, and it may be a good thing that this city disappeared, because its people were kind of freaky. The people who lived in this city between 7,500 and 10,000 years ago built their dwellings into a honeycomb structure, with several homes sharing the same sets of walls. So, how did they get in? Through the roof, of course. Rooftops became like streets for this place, and in an odd efficiency, the ground below became a graveyard, with the locals burying family members beneath the floor of their homes. How delightful. Where did they get married? On the ceiling? Çatalhöyük seems to have been abandoned around 5700 BC, probably when they ran out of corpse space in their living rooms. But much of its culture is known to have spread to other parts of Turkey. So while its people clearly survived elsewhere, we still don't know why they ditched this most intriguing of cities. At 2, Aslan. No, we're not talking about the talking lion that lived in a wardrobe. Aslan is a controversial entry on this list, as while many Aztec legends speak of this island city as the ancient homeland of the Aztec civilization, others believe it to be a myth, like Atlantis, Camelot, and Detroit. We know that the Aztecs migrated towards Mesoamerica from Mexico in the 6th century, but where they came from is a mystery. Aslan is said to have been located somewhere north of the Mexico Valley, with some claiming it could have been founded in Utah. But as yet, we've found diddly squat, which is a shame, as the discovery of the Aztec homeland might help fill in some of the blanks. You know, those blanks caused by Europeans pitching up and burning all the Aztecs' cool stuff. Yeah, thanks guys, that was real productive of you. And at number 1, Persepolis. The remains of Persepolis lie within the borders of modern-day Iran, so it may be a little tough to go rummaging around there anytime soon. And that's a danged shame, because this once great city once contained, and may still contain, many great secrets about some of the world's earliest civilizations. We believe Persepolis was founded in 515 BC, with its ruler Darius I initiating a series of grand construction projects which took over a century to complete. His successor, Xerxes I, continued in this vein, building the colossal Gate of All Nations, some of which still stands today. And a little more of it might have been left standing if it weren't for a big-ass fire which ravaged the city in 330 BC. This mysterious blaze may have been accidental, but there's a chance it was deliberate, as it took place at the same time as the invasion of legendary Greek conqueror, Alexander the Great. Surly old Al was a little butthurt after the Persians had burnt the Acropolis of Athens during their invasion of Greece 150 years prior, so he may have torched Persepolis as revenge. Either way, the fire destroyed many important documents, including archives of local history and the early writings of the Zoroastrian movement, much of which was written in gold ink on cow skin. That's pretty ritzy. On the few occasions archaeologists have been allowed near the site of this ancient city, they've found tantalizing pieces of history, such as stone tablets. So all we need to do now, if we want to find more hidden treasures, is make friends with Iran again. Easy peasy. And that's our list. But if you're after more delightful historical intrigue, then take a look at our recent video on 7 eye-opening pieces of history they never taught you in school. Because it turns out Chris Columbus was a real wife.
Yeah, Chris Columbus wasn't shit, man. Motherfucking rapist. Motherfuckers been over here. Proof that Mars had a civilization.
Oikos Triple Zero Greek non-fat yogurt gives me 15 grams of protein and 0 added.
Just because you can hold something in your own two hands and examine.
You're about to watch what we call an extended clip of the Young Turks, and the reality is it's somewhere in the middle. It's a little longer than our YouTube clips, but it's actually shorter than the whole 2-hour show, which you can get if you're a member. You can get it ad-free, and make sure you catch every news story we do that day. You're gonna love it as a full show. That's at tytnetwork.com/join. Thanks for watching. All right, back on the Young Turks. Couple tweets. Skepticus Rex says, for $31,000, that dining room table better be able to seat all of Rhode Island. Kelly Kerr says, who was it that said with the tax cuts, families would save $1,000 so they could buy a new car or redo their kitchen? They obviously have no idea what things cost. Just ask Carson, right?
Or he just got a huge tax cut.
Ishka Bibble says, Carson says that being poor is a choice. Yeah, well, it's when you come out of the womb, I mean, it's a curious choice that people make.
Yeah.
And I've told this many times, but I think it's important to know. African-American average two-parent family for African-Americans in this country, net worth of the family is $16,000. Same metrics for a white family is $160,000. So when you talk about white privilege, you don't know it, but on average, you were born into a family that had 10 times the wealth of an average African American. So that's kind of how white privilege works. It doesn't mean that you're rich. It doesn't mean that everything is wonderful and rainbows and unicorns for you. It just means that it's a different situation. So when they pay a guy like Ben Carson to say being poor is a choice, they know it's just a sad joke and a sick joke on all of you guys, including if you're a poor white guy in the middle of West Virginia, Nebraska, or wherever. And Tom Zawacki says the only reason Price got fired is because Trump was mad he was spending more on air travel than him. Which is entirely possible. I spend the most on air travel. I have the best planes.
The best. They're huge, my planes.
Yeah. So Sarah, what's going on lately? What are you up to?
Well, I'm doing this show, Sell By Date, and folks can find out more about where it is and where it's traveling, what I'm up to, following me on the socials. I'm on Twitter at Joan Sarah, and you should know my show kind of has multiple personalities in it, right? I even brought one of them with me. She just is a big fan.
Here we go.
Well, listen, hi there. My name is Lorraine Levine, and Sarah Jones brought me here today. I'm a huge fan because I remember in America where, it was actually government by the people for the people. At least, we at least pretended that was the goal. So anyway, I'm in the show Sell By Date. Come to the Geffen because I won't tell you how old I am, but I won't live forever. So come while we're running.
I'm doing this show with all these different people in it, but they're all fans, and I'm looking forward to sharing it.
And Sarah gets to do Indian accents.
I do.
Which I want to do, but I hear I'm not allowed to.
You must channel your inner. Really, you have to totally believe in that democracy of 1 billion people, see how that feels inside. Then you can do it.
Okay, I got it. Up to that alone. Anything else. All right, and speaking of appearances, Anna is going to be on in Bernie's town hall on Monday. So we're going to have the show normal time, 6 o'clock Eastern on Monday, but at 7 o'clock Eastern, we're going to switch over to the Bernie Sanders town hall on income inequality, a topic we were just discussing.
There it is.
And Anna will participate in that town hall again. So make sure you're here at tytnetwork.com/live.
Is that in DC again?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So cool.
And
Yeah,
then we're gonna have
it's awesome.
commentary. Obviously, we're gonna watch it along with you guys here. Then we're gonna have commentary afterwards in the studio in LA. And if you want to learn more about the town hall, go to tytnetwork.com/inequality. Okay. All right. What's next, Anna?
There is a Senate candidate that I want to inform you about. He is a libertarian and is likely to win the endorsement of the Libertarian Party in his state. His name is Brian Ellison, and he is planning on challenging Democratic incumbent Debbie Stabenow. And he says that homeless people are constantly victims of violent crime, which is true, and it's heartwarming and encouraging to hear that there's someone who wants to do something about this, right? But he thinks that the best solution is to provide them with firearms.
What?
Okay.
As if they were teachers.
Right. All right, so let me give you the details of his proposal. And he's being serious. At first I thought maybe this was a joke, but no, he's being serious. So let's
I
go
thought
down to
this was
17.
satire.
He says, frankly, I think the ideal weapon would be a pistol, but due to the licensing requirements in the state, we're going to have a hard enough time getting homeless people shotguns as it is. So he specifically wants to provide them with shotguns because the licensing requirements are a little more laxed when it comes to these shotguns. Now, Ellison said he and his team would aim to pre-qualify homeless people who wanted shotguns and were deemed suitable candidates to own them. So there's the issue of providing the guns, right? But then where do they get the ammunition for these guns? Well, Ellison's always thinking. He did think about this, and he realized that they would provide these individuals with a limited amount of bullets. And if they are caught using those bullets to shoot cans or anything other than someone who is posing a risk or a threat, then they would no longer give them bullets.
Okay, they're gonna get 5 or 6 shell magazines. First, let's go for the record that this guy's a very stable genius. But they're gonna get 5 or 6 shell magazines. And he's like, now, if they run out of them defending themselves, then we'll give them more bullets. Really? They're gonna shoot 5 or 6 people? And they're like, my God, okay, this guy, I mean, to be fair, he used he fired twice in one time, so 3 people are dead. Now finally we can give the guy new bullets because he used them well. Right. And he says that he settled on pump action shotguns for practicality purposes. Because how else would a homeless person kill someone if he didn't have a pump action shotgun?
Yeah, so again, it has more to do with the licensing requirements in the state. So if you have a pistol, you have to get it licensed, and in order to get it licensed.
All right, so is giving bums guns cheaper than giving bums housing? Like, bitch, okay, I'm out here getting robbed because I'm a bum, but I'm a bum because I don't have anywhere to live. So instead of putting me in a situation where I can no longer be robbed, you're gonna give me a weapon to defend myself out on the streets while I am being robbed. Man, wait a minute now, which one is cheaper, man? Is it all these guns and bullets, man? You can just rent me an apartment for a year. You know what I said? Let me get off the streets for a year and see how things go that way. You know, that just seems a little more logical. I don't want to have to go through gun training and, you know, and then plus if it rains or something, you know, my cardboard box leaks sometimes. I don't want my pump action shotgun getting rusty. Yeah. And I got a gun cabinet, but you know, I ain't got no house to put my gun cabinet in, so. Motherfuckers is crazy.
since you need to have an address, and if you're homeless, you don't have an address. So he's actually thought through some of the details, which is amazing.
He also said he's going to sort of poll them to see if it's something they want, because he doesn't want to force it on them.
He said that's right. He said they will not be forced to carry shotguns. Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
So he's going to go among the homeless and say, "Hey, you guys want guns?"
I can't. I mean, I just want to go back to what Michael said. Like, we're at a place now where, look, of course he cares, and I think that's fantastic. This is total madness. Teachers being armed, it's not a solution. Every statistic shows us that when you put the gun in the person's hands, you increase their risk of death or injury. But I mean, you're basically throwing fuel on the problem.
Exactly.
And let me also bring up another thing. So, these are homeless people. They're unfortunately living on the street. What happens when they're asleep and their weapon is there? Like, who's going to prevent another person from obtaining that weapon illegally? And I mean, this is such a terrible idea.
You just go rob the bums for all their guns now.
Right.
And you think they're going to go through the proper registration to sell the gun?
Right.
Or are they just going to say, "This is my private gun show"?
The Skid Row loophole.
Yeah.
So one more quote from candidate Ellison. He says, "Are you worried about the police being armed with military weapons? I am. The world we live in is a scary world where the police, who used to dress in short sleeve shirts and carry a revolver, now have long rifles with scopes and bulletproof vests and armored vehicles. And quite frankly, that scares me much more than a homeless person trying to defend themselves with a shotgun." I think you can be scared of both.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to be scared of both.
I'm definitely terrified of both. I'm going with both.
But just putting more guns into society.
Amazing.
Yeah, so look, I want to be clear about something. I don't even think this Ellison guy has bad intent or is a bad guy overall. Look, he says a lot of things that are interesting. He's worried about over militarizing the cops. He is a libertarian, so he thinks we're doing too much foreign intervention. I looked into him, okay, and he cares about minority civil rights. Those are all wonderful things, but he genuinely believes that the answer is always a gun, right? Is some sort of weapon, and so. Like we care about the homeless intensely, and so we think maybe a home,
some food.
And I don't say that just like flippantly. Utah, Salt Lake City, actually built homes for the homeless and found that it was incredibly cost efficient.
Yes.
It solved a lot of their medical problems. It solved a lot of the services that you would normally have to provide, and it was like this counterintuitive idea of like, they're homeless. Why don't we give them homes, right? And it turned out to be genius. Other places are trying homes to cut down on emergency room costs, et cetera, providing some funding for rentals, et cetera. So there's so many different ways to address it, but let's also be realistic, and we've talked about this a lot. A lot of the homeless are mentally ill. They didn't choose to be there, they just have an issue, but they also have rights, and it's really complicated, and you want to help them, but you want to respect their rights, etc. But I think the very last thing you want to do to help mentally ill homeless people is to give them a weapon, because I thought of it selfishly, to be honest, like the idea of walking in LA's downtown or in San Francisco with homeless people with shotguns does not sound good to me. I'm keeping it real on that. But you guys made a good point that they're actually more likely to hurt themselves, because that's actually what happens when people own guns. Sarah made the point. She's right. 500 people die every single year in America from accidental gunshot wounds. To give you a sense of context, this is amazing. All gun deaths in Japan combined, even if you triple their population to equal ours, is only 39. Wow. Whereas we have 500 deaths every year from just accidents, let alone homicides and suicides, which is over 30,000.
It's amazing.
I learned today that the NRA, when they hold their convention, gun violence goes down around the country every year during the 5 days of the NRA convention every year.
Wow.
I'm researching. Isn't it amazing? I'm researching because I'm going to cover it this year, and the convention in Dallas. And when I learned that fact, and I was supported by lots of other research.
Correlation does not equal causation, Michael.
I'm so sorry.
And if you say that, they will shoot you.
They will exactly.
Arm the homeless man to do likewise.
Exactly. I was going to say, get some homeless folks on the payroll. And thank you for that point about it's just a health issue, right? Mental health is just a health issue that needs to be destigmatized. Put guns in the hands of folks who actually just need care.
That's
And plus, the gun control opponents are saying, no, we have to deal with the mentally ill. This is not how you deal with the mentally ill. Right?
Well, in America, on a macro scale, we have a mental health problem.
Of course we do.
Because we think that the right answer for everything, including homelessness driven by mental illness, oh, it's okay, I got the solution. Give him a gun. Give him a shotgun while you're at it, and that'll solve it. Because the answer is always further weaponry.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
All right, one more story.
All right. A Democrat has stepped up in Maine to challenge a Republican candidate for a state House seat. Now, the reason why this particular race is catching headlines is because Leslie Gibson, the Republican candidate, recently was criticized for some of the statements he made on Twitter in regard to the survivors of the mass shooting that took place in Parkland, Florida. Now, what he said infuriated one woman so much that she decided to challenge him because she realized that he was running unopposed. Her name is Erin Gilchrist, and there she is. She's the Democratic candidate, and she met the Thursday filing deadline to place her name on the ballot against Leslie Gibson, who until then had been running unopposed. Gibson put himself in the spotlight earlier this month by verbally attacking the two Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school students on Twitter, and the two that we're referring to are Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg. So here's what he had to say about Emma Gonzalez, and it was disgusting. Again, this was on Twitter. He wrote, "There is nothing about this skinhead lesbian that impresses me, and there is nothing that she has to say unless you're frothing at the mouth, Moonbat. Unless you're a frothing at the mouth, Moonbat." Now, I want to share a video. It's a montage of Emma Gonzalez, so you can kind of get a sense of why the right wing hates her so much and why I absolutely love her. Take a look.
What do you think about this idea of arming teachers?
It's stupid.
Why?
First of all, Douglas ran out of paper for like 2 weeks in the school year, and now all of a sudden they have $400 million to pay for teachers to get trained to arm themselves? Really? Really? I want you to know that we will support your two children in the way that we will not. You will not. Do you keep it in a lockbox or do you carry it on your person? If the teacher dies and a student who's a good student is able to get the gun, are they now held responsible to shoot the student who's come into the door? I think I'm gonna interrupt you real quick and remind you that the question is actually, do you believe it should be harder to obtain these semi-automatic weapons and modifications to make them fully automatic, such as bump stocks?
I love her. I mean, first of all, Emma for president, but also, can I move to Maine fast enough to vote for Erin Gilchrist? Like how much, you know what I mean? How much time do I need?
Wait till June.
Okay, I'll wait till June. Right.
I think Erin actually has a good chance of winning, and I'll tell you why. One, Maine has public financing, so anybody's got a shot, which is great. And the private financing of elections. Secondly, the number one problem the local candidates have is no media attention. So the person with more money usually wins because they have a bigger megaphone and the media doesn't cover the local races. So here in her case, problem solved. Everybody's focusing on that small local race in Maine. So I think Erin's got a perfectly good shot at winning that race, which is great. How great would it be if a citizen who's 28 years old got motivated to action, and she said she had no interest in politics before, but saw that he was running unopposed, was like, we can't let this stand, and got into the race. I'm telling you, I think she has I can't wait for election night when I tell you, hey, remember that story of a guy who called Emma Gonzalez a skinhead lesbian? Well, that's the former representative from Maine. That would be fantastic. And I want to know something that I just realized as we're doing this story. We try really hard to not say the names of the shooters after the first day or first couple of days of coverage. And I think that we've done a pretty decent job at it, not perfect. And I think the media is now heading in that direction overall, which I'm thrilled about. We've been talking about it for a decade on this show. But for the first time, we have victims' names that are much more recognizable than the shooters' names. So Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg and some of the other students are now really well known, which is amazing. And in fact, what triggered, if you will, this Republican to attack Gonzalez was that Gonzalez's Twitter handle had more followers than the NRA's.
Woo!
And that was the news story that made him a special little snowflake, and he needed a safe space from. So that's why he was like, oh, I can't believe this. Lesbian has more than my beloved NRA. Because conservatives are so obsessed with like Twitter following. Trump and these guys, who's got more on Twitter?
This is a little bit of a tangent, but I had to bring it up because someone made this point on Facebook, and I thought it was such a fabulous point. Following this shooting in Parkland, Florida, there were people on the right that were arguing that one of the issues is that, this kid was bullied. He was tortured by the bullying, and if people were just better toward him, treated him better, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But remember, it's the right wing that moans about snowflakes non-stop. Like, oh, special little snowflakes. Oh, do we have to worry about your feelings? So, you can't use that argument when it's convenient for you. And this was not an issue of a kid being bullied. This was an issue of someone who had no reason to have any access to a gun, being able to easily and legally purchase one. So,
Anna, that's such a great point. I hadn't thought of that in that way either. Which is their main argument is, no, it's not a gun control issue. Because if we just given the bully a safe space, right, or the shooter a safe space from bullies, they claim, right? I think that when you shoot 17 people, you're the bully. But but in the topsy-turvy conservative world, he was the poor kid. If he just had a safe space, he'd have been okay.
And by the way, the same argument was made when that shooter in Santa Barbara did what he did. And he had made videos about how women wouldn't give him a chance, or other female students wouldn't give him a chance. And there were people on the right that empathized with him. So where's your snowflake argument now?
They have selective empathy. They love to trot it out when it's convenient for them.
Yes.
That's exactly right. All right, everybody check out Buy, Sell, Date by Sarah Jones.
Sell by date. It's a tricky...
Sell by date.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, like I said, because it's playing on words. All right, and Michael Schur on I-24.
They're the most biased news source ever. Because you can't agree with them? That's like me watching Fox News. You know what? I can't agree with Fox News. So I'm going to say they're biased. But you listen to Fox and like, nah, Fox is good, man. I like Fox. They're completely on the level. But then you listen to somebody else. So what makes it biased? Because they have opinions. So they give you news facts. And they have their opinions on top of their facts. Just like every other news channel. Every news channel is not solid facts. When you listen to fucking damn, I forgot that dude's name. That motherfucker just give his opinion on shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gets their opinion. But you listen to the Young Turks, and just because these motherfuckers always talking about poor people and black people, it's like, these guys are so biased. I can't believe you're listening to the Young Turks. I like the Young Turks. I agree with them on a lot of stuff, man. But I can listen to I listen to Sean Hannity. I listen to fucking Ralph. What's that motherfucking name? I can listen to all the conservative radio. There is NPR, all that good old shit, man. But what? And so what? Then I listen to this shit right here too. But that's the thing. Everybody doesn't want to listen to everything. I listen to Al Jazeera sometimes. I listen to a little bit of BBC. You know what I'm saying? Listen to some RT. I like RT. That should be pretty good too. RT kind of reminds me of motherfucking the Young Turks a lot.
.tv. Come find us. So when we come back, whole new power panel. Simone Boyce is here. Gina Grad is here. Yes. And we got some amazing stories for you guys, including some of these people who participated in the National School Walkout. receiving corporal punishment. They were beaten by school administrators for participating in the walkout.
Beaten is a very strong word. They were spanked.
They were swatted.
Okay, that's a better
Okay,
word.
well,
They're trying to avoid one form of violence. They get, it's like, come on.
Yeah. Violence. There's one thing I know: violence is the answer.
Always in America.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. Thanks for listening to this podcast. You're only halfway through, so hold.
I didn't know
stay
that.
right here. Just want to remind you, if you want to get all 5 seconds.
I don't know. I'm 30. I'm 37. So I got paddled in school several times, like twice, I think. If I can remember correctly, I got paddled at least twice. Once was a food fight, because me and my homies then started a food fight in the cafeteria. And everybody pointed us out. It was them. So all of us had to go to the office and get that paddle. And then another time, I was fighting on the playground. Me and the dude got in a fight. You know what I'm saying? They called us out there. Went to the office. Got that paddle, boy. But I ain't know they was spanking kids again. I remember they took that shit out of fucking schools. You can't spank kids no more. Oh, don't beat the children. I said, what? Motherfucker, I was getting my ass whipped in school. Now y'all can't beat the children? Oh, shit. Spare the ride, ruin the child. That's why them little white boys be running around shooting up schools and shit now. Cause ain't nobody busting their ass at home. Motherfucker, I'll whip the shit out your ass. What? Sit the fuck there. Ain't no timeout. Sitting in no corner. All that shit. Go get a belt. Go get the belt. You not listening? You got suspended off the bus. You did what now? Go get that belt.
Segments of the Young Turks, commercial free. These are just 2 of them. Every day we do it. So go to tytnetwork.com/join and you get the whole 5 segments, 2 hours, ad free. Do it now.
Boom, 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 boom,
Back on the Young Turks, Jenks, Simone, Gina, Brett with you guys. Tweets. Stalkington writes in, or no, Stalking Lion writes in. I don't care if you're tenured, you have racist opinions, you should lose your job. As an educator, that woman makes me physically ill. Okay. Riley Grady, on the other hand, says, I'm from rural Montana and had extremely conservative teachers. Luckily for me, they were good at their jobs and made me defend my ideals. So that's lovely to hear. And for, it's not quite an on the other hand from Stalking Lion, but it's a different point of view. For a more perfect America, writes in, with a less subtle point, hey lady, what the F are you smoking? Mismatch hypothesis, my ass. Oh. So if you don't know, mismatch hypothesis is, we should match the students to the schools where they will do better. In other words, do black kids really have to go to Harvard? Can't they just go to a lower school where they'll do better? I'm being a bit of a dick about that, but relatively. But nobody ever says like mismatch hypothesis for legacy students, right? Like, is that really rich student really going to do well at Dartmouth, or should they go to a community college?
Yeah, it's just keep it the same way. In the interview, she also says like, when they say the word segregation, she's like, I'm not for segregation.
Oh, come on.
Do you hear yourself? What do you got?
Can we also just look at our priorities as a nation? We spend more on our prisons than we do on our public schools. So I think that.
Yeah, but we're just fetishizing resources. She would say.
That's exactly.
But that's because she's a very stable genius. Oh, am I plugging this t-shirt that you can find on shoptyt.com? I hadn't noticed. Okay, best-selling shirt we got. Kofefe's pretty good too. A lot of the shirts are great, but check it out at shoptyt.com. And of course, everybody become a member.
What up?
tytnetwork.com/join. And if you do, for example, the Bernie Town Hall, all the members get to watch that whenever they want, which is kind of neat. And I forgot to mention, Elizabeth Warren's also at the town hall, and so is Michael Moore and Anna Kasparian. I think that's the 4 horsemen of the progressive left in America.
Yeah. That's amazing. Four Horsemen's a little end of the world. It's trying to be like the epicalypse or like, I don't know, the apocalypse.
The Fantastic Four.
Fantastic
That's
Four.
much better.
Yes.
Way less deadly.
Okay, all right. What's
Okay,
next?
all right, so a bit of a change of gears here. You may have seen news of the bridge collapse at Florida International University. They were building a bridge. It was 950 tons. They called it an incident bridge. And while they were building it, it collapsed on traffic that was allowed to pass underneath it at the time. There's an ongoing investigation as to what went on. Marco Rubio trying to clarify, saying things like they were supposed to tighten the cables on it, and they ordered someone to tighten it, but before they could be tightened, this happened. But there is an ongoing investigation. One of the companies behind it made a statement in the wake of the event. It's called FIGG, F-I-G-G, Bridge Engineers. And they released a statement to CBS saying, our deepest sympathies are with those affected by this accident. We will fully cooperate with every appropriate authority in reviewing what happened and why. In our 40-year history, nothing like this has ever happened before. Our entire team mourns the loss and injuries associated with this devastating tragedy, and our prayers go out to all involved. It looks like a pretty solid apology. There was that thing in the middle, though, saying that in our 40-year history of this family company, nothing like this has happened before. But news has surfaced of a previous incident, as reported by WTKR through a Virginia paper, saying construction of the South Norfolk Jordan Bridge back in 2012 was put on hold. It was designed by the same firm after a truss used to build the bridge shifted, which sent a 10-foot, 90-ton piece of concrete crashing down to the railroad tracks below in June 2012. 4 workers were injured in the incident. As a result, the firm was fined officially $28,000. It's just weird that you would, it's a family company, it's a small company, and then you wouldn't mention something that happened as recently as 2012.
And also, I thought I read that they put it up in like 6 hours, and that there was plans not even to have this bridge ready till next year. So what's the rush, and what's the payoff for? I mean, it's a footbridge. Go around. Who cares?
Yeah.
Why would they risk people's lives?
It's this new construction method called accelerated bridge construction, and it was developed.
No. Name alone, I vote
right,
no.
Right. It was actually developed in part at FIU, which is why I think they saw this as a publicity opportunity.
Oops.
And it was developed with a couple of other universities. But yeah, the whole idea is it goes up in like 6 hours as opposed to obstructing traffic for 24 to, or not even like for 24 weeks or however long it takes to build a bridge.
We had in here when they built the bridge over the 405, it shut down traffic for like days, entire days at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm never defending anything that they do to enhance the 405 in any way. But because they did that, it didn't collapse and people didn't die.
Yeah. So that leads to the most important point, which is like, we got to constantly defeat these right-wing mythologies. And so they say, regulation is always bad. Regulation, it slows everything down. You got to deregulate. Well, it kind of depends, doesn't it? Right? So if there's overregulation, which is entirely possible, then yeah, you should deregulate a little bit. If Wall Street keeps crashing the economy, I'd step up the regulation rather than step it down, as an example. And in bridges, let's keep it up. Let's keep the regulations on, right? Because if bridges fall, then people die, and it's kind of a bad idea. Look, buildings used to collapse all the time back in the day. We didn't know how to build them to be earthquake resistant, for example, when earthquakes hit, right? Or we did know, but there was no regulations enforcing it, so it was cheaper to build a building without those required regulations built in. Yes, that's right. Now, it does cost more to build a building in LA now, but guess what? In the middle of an earthquake, you're super psyched that they built it that way, because when the 90-ton slab of concrete falls in your head, it kind of hurts.
Yeah. Terrible. And MCM, the other company that was involved in the actual construction, said that, or it was reported that they also had 11 violations since 2013 and had been fined $50,000 over that time. That was reported in Time Magazine through stats from OSHA.
One last weird point I want to make on the story. So Wolfpack is a organization to get money out of politics. You hear me talk about it all the time. Wolf-pack.com/go. It's a donator volunteer.
Not all.
That's right. Get money out of politics. Anyway, But I'm super proud of the people in it, and there's a lot of veterans in the group because they think it makes sense. It's orderly. And it's fighting for freedom in a different way. There's a lot of teachers in the group because they find that it helps because they get frustrated with what happens in their school system and they want to know how to fix it. They logically figure out that it's money in politics. But there's also a lot of engineers. And I talked to a couple of engineers in a row a couple of years ago. I remember having these conversations with the volunteers, right? And I was like, what drew you to Wolfpack? He's like, and one of them made a great comment that I quote from time to time on the show. You can't half build a bridge, right? If you're an engineer, you have to get the bridge 100% right. Right, and so they think Wolfpack is logical, and it brings you all the way to an amendment, which actually solves the problem, which is very nice of them to say. But I was reminded of that reading this story. You can't even 99% build a bridge. Right. You know, if you're an engineer, you got to get it 100% right. That's why regulations are important in cases like this.
Until it's done, don't let people drive underneath it.
Yeah.
Ugh, not to mention the bridges in America that we don't know where they are, but they've been rated as structurally unsafe unless infrastructure spending goes to fix them. Okay. Let's move on to Katy Perry.
Yes.
He kissed a girl. Did he like it? Do you know what I mean by those words? From the season of American Idol that no one asked for, the kiss that no one asked for. Katy Perry is one of the judges. She's on American Idol. This is a guy. Let's take a look at this gentleman. His name is Benjamin Glaze. He's 20 years old. He never kissed a girl in his life. Aww. Of course, the producers told that to Katy Perry, and she was like, have you ever kissed a girl? And he said, no. So she said, let's remedy that. And she offered what? Her cheek. He went up and kissed her on the cheek, and she was like, oh, that was great. Then she said, can you kiss the other cheek? And as he was going up to kiss the other cheek, what happened?
No.
Last second, turns her face.
Booyah.
Mouth to mouth. It was the kiss heard around the world, as evidenced by this next photo. It knocked him on his buns.
That's unbelievable. Oh, that's unreal.
In the wake of this, he said, would I have done it if she said, would you kiss me? According to this quote. No, I would have said no. I know a lot of guys would be like, heck yeah, but for me, I was raised in a conservative family and I was uncomfortable immediately. I wanted my first kiss to be special. He was sent home, by the way, because he did not perform well. According to him, his heartbeat was going so fast. But then he came back to qualify his statement saying, I do not think I was sexually harassed, because a lot of people came up and said, this is sexual harassment. It seemed from the previous quote that it was. And he said, I don't think I was sexually harassed by Katy Perry, and I'm thankful for the judge's comments and critiques. I was uncomfortable in a sense of how I have never been kissed before and was not expecting it.
Okay, I have enormous mixed feelings about this story. I love this story. Okay. So, number one, there's something super endearing about the kid. You know, so I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not a conservative. But he's a conservative kid and he's 19 and he wanted his first kiss to be special. And for all the kids out there, don't sweat it. It's not going to be that special. Just move on, get the kiss, move forward.
Also, it's not going to be with Katy Perry.
It will not be.
And by the way, getting your first kiss from Katy Perry is pretty special. It's pretty special, pretty neat. Yeah. I would have taken it. Anyway, so he's cute. He fell down, you know, and he's like, oh, I want to be in a relationship. And before, I don't agree with him. I don't think you need to be in a relationship. I think you should get going and all that. But I'm to your point, Simone, right? Now, people are saying, if you flipped it and Katy Perry was a guy of her age and kissed a 19-year-old girl without permission, people would have flipped out. And I don't know.
This is a pretty big gray area. I mean, I think you're right. If you flip the genders, I would be. I mean, I'm kind of uncomfortable with it right now. I don't know.
So there's a lot logically to sit through, and there's a lot of frameworks that have arisen in recent years about power dynamics and races or genders of traditional power and how that affects how you're supposed to interpret it. And I think it's twofold. So flip it in reverse. There's a lot of things in this that I've covered on various shows where it's like, if you flip the races, and the response is, yeah, but one race has been traditionally in a position of power, and so that equivalency doesn't really work out. Whatever you feel about that, just know that that is a framework of discourse in America that's evolving. However, if you go back to the power dynamic in this situation, it is a host. There is a host there who is also Katy Perry, a judge in a position of extreme power, and she kissed him. I do think if you go to a more specific level, this guy has not had a kiss. He's 20 years old. He is in that position where it's like, yeah, she still has cooties. I didn't know what to do. I didn't like it. And he may have liked it. The dominant thing to pull out of it, in my opinion, is she shouldn't have done it. It seems super markety because the last two things, Grace pointed this out on Pop Trigger when we covered it, they're doing a lot of marketing about how Katy Perry is in love with various people.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Marketing too.
Well, but as somebody anecdotally who's had one of my first kisses, like my third kiss, had to be in a rehearsal space in front of my mom in a play, and they really wanted me to go for it. So I get that this kid was like super uncomfortable, and just because he's a boy, who cares? It's still sad. But the thing I couldn't stop thinking about was, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume this wasn't Katy Perry's idea. She has producers in her ear. They're trying to make people watch this show. They're trying to create controversy because nobody gives a crap about this show anymore. And they're like, we're sending this kid in. Here's how it's going to play out. Yeah. Do your thing. So at that point, it's like, she could say, I'm Katy Perry. I don't have to do anything. Or she's like, I want to be a team player. All right, let's just get this done. So I always think, who's in her ear and who's putting the pressure on her to do something, whether she wants to do it or not.
She seemed more than team player, though. She seemed pretty into the idea.
Yeah. Well, you guys have swung me a little bit. Look, my inclination is to scream, "Let her go! Let her go! It's all in good fun, and dude, you'll be all right. You'll be all right."
He will be.
Okay, but at the same time, when you take into account what Brett said about. I mean, she's about the judgment. I mean, you want to talk about a power dynamic, and she's incredibly rich and famous, etc. So we can't say that about the Weinsteins of the world, and it's not comparable. Weinstein did horrible things. But still, I mean, that's a power dynamic. This is a power dynamic. And then Gina's point about, and Brett said it too, the producers, these are highly produced TV shows. Then it becomes, doing it for the purpose of manipulation, right? And for the purpose of ratings and all that stuff. And if we said, okay, let's take a 19-year-old virgin girl, and for ratings, let's have an older man just kiss her without permission, and then we'll call that guy Donald Trump, right? If it had happened on Apprentice, we'd be talking about it as a political issue.
Yeah, and
right?
if they wanted to go full Weinstein, they would bring a fern out there with a guitar, and they would violate it.
Well, also, okay, I'm sure this kid is like kind of riding the high of this moment of, being kissed by Katy Perry, and I don't think he's going to be emotionally scarred by this, but sexual harassment for a lot of people is something that takes a while, maybe even years, to understand that you were made uncomfortable by it, that it was an uncomfortable moment for you. So he says that he doesn't think it's sexual harassment now, and that's fine. I think we should take him at his word. But how's he going to feel in like 5 years? How's he going to feel in 10 years?
Realized that he should have kissed people much earlier and was psyched that it happened with Katy Perry.
I don't know. I'm just posing
But now
the
you
question.
split me to the opposite direction and back to where I wanted to go. He said it wasn't sexual harassment. I would take him at his word. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Do you want to come back and talk about
Yeah, we got to go. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching what I hope was a lovely edition of the Young Turks. Now, you know that is 2 of the 5 segments that we do because that's free. We want to have you support independent media and come watch the whole show that we do every day. That's 5 segments overall, no ads at all. That's at tytnetwork.com/join. Come become a member. Thanks for watching either way.
Dude, I can't believe you're listening to the Young Turks. They're the most biased show ever. Ever in the history of independent media. The Young Turks, huh? What motherfuckers hate the Young Turks for? hour and a half. Man, I'm about to go get on some Ghost Recon. Took some video games for a little while. Yeah, I like the Young Turks, yo. I listen to their shit before I listen to a lot of other people, yo. They news and shit.
We met a number of years ago. In part, I was writing a movie. I was going in to pitch a movie called Interstellar. At the time, Steven Spielberg was the director, and he wanted to do a grounded movie about the future of space travel. So I came in and my pitch was very short. I said the movie's going to be 10 minutes long because it's not happening. It was about 10 years ago. We're not going. There's no money left. This is not a priority for us anymore. And then in the course of, and somehow I got the job, in the course of writing the movie, working with Kip Thorne, a physicist, invited me at a physics conference one night, and I got seated next to Elon. We've been friends ever since. The irony of that being, I wound up becoming friends with a guy who I think personally is moving the needle back in the other direction, kind of by himself at this point, more than anyone I can think of. So the net result is, I think we are going back to the moon. I think we are going to Mars, and I think a lot of it is because of you. So one of the questions we got here today. One of the questions that you guys have submitted that I love is, it's simple. Mars, how can we help?
Let's see, so in the short term, Mars is really about getting the spaceship built. We're making good progress on the ship and the booster, codenamed BFR.
What does that stand for again?
Well, it's a bit of it's like sort of a Rorschach test in acronym form. But it is very big. I gave a presentation on this at the International Astronautical Congress in Australia last year, and that design is evolving rapidly. We're actually building that ship right now.
He didn't answer the question. He said it's the BFR, booster rocket. He said, okay, well, what does BFR stands for? He says, well, it's an acronym. Yeah, for what, bitch? What the fuck does it stand for?
The upper and down, you spend and I can't explain it to you.
Great news. The 2018 Motor Trend Truck of the Year is, of course, the Ford F-150. Even
This week only, don't order Domino's over the phone.
director Steven Spielberg.
There's something I want to show
God,
you.
can I get like 2 beats in a row?
Ready Player One.
Yo, Brian, what's up, man? Yeah, that beat right there smooth, right? That shit. I be feeling that beat.
Getting a simple interest loan to buy a car may seem complicated, but it is simple.
Even all these beats, all these commercials is complicated. Goddamn. Skip that shit, huh? Yeah. But I got the link to this store on my Facebook page, and on all the social apps you can just like send me a message or something like that if you like one of my pieces that you want to inquire about, or if you want a commission done, you can like send me a picture if you want to do that. But yeah, so there's a couple different ways to contact me. Shit. You guys do know The Walking Dead comes on tonight, right? Right? And before we get into this whole song and dance about, oh, I don't really watch zombie shows, fuck that. What's the best show on TV right now? The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is literally the only reason. I'm not over exaggerating or anything. The Walking Dead is the only reason I watch TV. I don't watch any other show. There's not another show that's like, oh, it's such and such day at such and such time. That show is on. It's like, I don't do that for any other fucking show, period. Like, I don't watch shit else, yo. It's not like, oh, the game is on. Like, nah, fuck any of all that shit, yo. But The Walking Dead, oh, I gotta watch that shit. Gotta watch that Walking Dead shit, though, son. I don't know, AMC has been my TV source for the past couple of years, basically, because I watched all of Breaking Bad. That was a good show. And I watched some of Hell on Wheels. That was okay. And The Walking Dead. Like, for the past few years, those are the only shows that I've actually paid attention to. And any other time I turn the TV on, I'm either sitting in front of a camera painting, or I'm playing video games, or watching like YouTube or Netflix or some shit. But like, do I just turn on the TV and like flip through like actual channels? Like, I wonder what's on USA or Fox. I can't hardly even think of channels right now. Like MTV, BET, like, I don't know. I don't do that shit. Oh, somebody got a new video out. I'll YouTube it. Oh yeah, Kendrick Lamar does have a new video. It's pretty hot. You know, did I like watch that on actual TV? Like, nah. Haven't watched television in years, man. Like, fuck that shit. Literally paid for cable just to watch The Walking Dead. And everybody's like, oh, well, you can do this trick, and you can get a fire stick, and you can just do this, and you can do that, and you want... I might have to switch over, though. Like, our cable bill is crazy. But we got pretty good internet, and I don't know. My girlfriend watches some TV sometimes. I don't know, I think she's getting to the point where she barely watches TV. Like I said, most times she'll just watch fucking Netflix or some shit like that too. Like, you don't really have to have... I think the internet is gonna kill cable, yo. Like, it's killed so many things already. You remember, like, Blockbuster and all that shit, man? Like, and Video City and all the little places you had to go rent videos from. Now, motherfuckers, you just go to Redbox. Or now you can just stream all your fucking movies and entertainment. Like, yo, Blockbuster and all those other little places had to shut the fuck down, yo. That shit is crazy. And I think cable is next. Like, that's gonna be the next shit that goes. Like, nobody's gonna have to order fucking, like, major cable packages and all this other shit. Like, bitch, I got Hulu and Crunchyroll and Uvu and fucking Netflix, bitch. I don't need 500 and something fucking channels and all that other shit. The Golf Network. You know, NASCAR. The Food Channel and Shopping Network. You know, who the fuck is gonna watch that shit? Oh, well, I have a website. If you're not on any of social media, you can go to my website and send me a message up there. Well, my website is it's kind of outdated. I don't really have a lot of my new art up there, but I can take well, damn, if you can't see my new art, I can take commission requests if you want to. If that's what you're looking for, if you want me to like paint a picture of your dog or your parakeet or you and your wife on your wedding day or some shit like that, you can just send me a picture through my email on my website, which is travisprince.blogspot.com. And you can reach me there if you don't have social media. That's the only other way you can really get to me. But like I said, if you're interested in buying some of my art, yeah, you can't really see any of my new stuff without being on social media. And I don't know, this stuff is kind of expensive. It's way cheaper for me to do a commission for you than it would be for you to actually buy one of my original paintings. So, but you can get like prints or something made, or if you want to print, I'll do those sometimes. But you still would have to be able to see, like, my newest catalog. I think I'm gonna upgrade my website to like just a regular .com for people like you who don't have social media. But it's weird now, like even if you go to Walmart.com, it says like us on Facebook, or you know, if you go to HomeDepot.com, it says follow us on Twitter. So even major corporations, their .coms still route you back to their social pages as well, because they know that without being on social media, you're gonna miss a lot of fucking possible customers for advertisement viewing and shit like that. So it's weird when you look at shit like how advertisement and marketing is changing now, where McDonald's tells you to like their fucking Facebook page. But you know, it's like everybody has that shit. And so I try to, like I said, I have an old .com just for people who don't have social media, but I don't know, it's been so long since I've actually posted a new painting up there. Like you'll see some shit from maybe 2 years ago. 3 years ago was the last time I updated. 2 years ago, maybe. Shit, I do 13 paintings a year, so you probably won't see like my last 26 paintings. Well, I'm getting ready for a show next year. Gonna have a solo show. So I'm gonna need probably like at least 18 new pieces. I have several pieces here now that haven't been seen in the gallery. But I'm coming up with this new series. I started taking some photographs for it earlier this week. So we're gonna see how that one turns out. And see if I'm as clever as I think I am. Or will the print get a bad review? I think his art is a little over the top. And not to point out the obvious, but he doesn't paint white people. I love the critics. They're so funny. I smell dinner. Ooh, damn, that shit, I swear to God, yo, that shit just hit my nose like just now, yo. Damn, I smell that shit, yo. Hells yeah. Now I'm salivating a little bit. Smells like smoked turkey. I would describe the delicious richness and that full smoke flavor of turkey. But if you've never had smoked turkey, you just can't understand it. I told my girl to buy that shit the first time. She's like, smoked turkey? It's like, girl, just buy that shit and cook that shit, yo. Ooh, it's delicious. I said, I know it. I know it is. Don't tell nobody else. Smoked turkey. Darken that brew. Smoked turkey. Not to point out the elephant in the room, but I smell smoked turkey. Who's hungry? Wah, wah, wah. Two hours. Ooh. So I put in almost 8 hours today. I did, let me see. What, 7 hours? I think I did 3 hours, and then I did 2 hours and some change. Then I just did 2 hours. It's not too bad. It's like working for myself, you know what I'm saying? The more you in the studio, the more you in here painting, the more you can get painted. Yeah? The more you can get painted, the quicker you can finish your painting. The quicker you can finish your painting is the quicker you can sell a painting. That shit is simple math. Cause you go to work and you work for somebody else for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and you making that man all the money, and he pay you a little bit of the money. But you gotta figure out a way where you do all the work, but you make all the money. And then you can figure out a way to make somebody else do the work and you make all the money. That's the good way to go. But at least try to get all the monies. Because you always gonna keep working for somebody else if you don't work for yourself. So, when you're not at work, you should continue to work. And then one day you can make all the monies. All the monies will be for yourself. But if not, you can just keep working for somebody else, you know, until you have to do that thing called retire. Because you're too old to make somebody else some money. And they say, man, I need young people making this money for me. Because they can make it faster than your old ass. Go sit your old ass down somewhere. Then you work your whole life making monies for somebody else. Fuck that. Sad way to go, man. You know? You know what I'm saying? It's a sad life, man. Sad situations. Not being able to define yourself. Not being able to really find yourself. Sad situations, some sad situations. I think I'm gonna get out of here for real. For one, I gotta pee. For two, I'm hungry and I need to go check the ETA of the FOOD. For 3, The Walking Dead comes on tonight. I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man. I got appointments and schedules and all kind of shit to meet. You know? Shit. I got dinner dates, bathroom meetings. Entertainment sessions. Man, it's just, my schedule is packed. Do what? Who do what? No, I ain't gotta leave the house for none of that. No. Dinner dates and bathroom breaks. That's gonna be the name of my next album. Dinner dates and bathroom breaks. You know what I'm saying? Shit. It's that awkward silence driving you crazy. It's that awkward silence. My bad. I will not sing anymore. I apologize for singing. Is that awkward silence driving you crazy? Is that awkward silence? It's my fucking show. Driving you crazy. Ooh doo 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 doo. Cause this dude ain't saying nothing. Ooh doo 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 doo. He just sitting there steady brushing. Doo 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 doo. Awkward silence. Now y'all might think I'm weird, but am I weird, or are you weird for fucking watching me? Ha ha. Think about that. Think about that. Awkward silence. Is that do 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 do. You guys are fucking strange, man. Shit.
Last year, I saved almost $20,000 in tax write-offs.
And I deducted $12,000 off my taxes.
$7,243 worth of reimbursable mileage.
The MileIQ app makes it easy to track your business miles. It runs in the background on your smartphone using smart drive detection technology to capture and log all of your drive.
Yeah. That's nice commercial. Tell it to somebody who gives a fuck. All right, guys. Right there. That's if that's what you think it says. That's as close as I'll ever get to painting a picture of the Donald. That's like I said, that's as close as I get to it right there, bro. Yeah, it's a badass paint. And Trump got enough faithful supporters and loyal followers. I'm pretty sure one of them is artistic enough to paint a picture of Donald Trump. He doesn't need me to do it. Whatever, dude. I don't paint any recognizable people like that in television. For one, Donald Trump was a celebrity to start with. I don't paint celebrities. I don't like painting recognizable people. I paint average, everyday people. You know what I'm saying? That look like me. My PayPal is TravisPrince81@yahoo.com. Let me get that that in my PayPal account, and I'll start on that shit right now on the biggest canvas I got, because I'm already painting a picture of the Obamas for somebody else, another client. So, you know, I guess I can paint a picture of Donald Trump for you. I don't want to be biased. That's what I'm saying though, man. If you really want a picture of Trump, aren't there like some really cool artists who like Trump? You should just ask one of those guys. That'd be way easier. They'll do it for a lot less cheaper than 10 grand too. What's the lowest price? Depends on what size canvas you want, man. Hit me up. We'll talk some business. Peace. Until next time.